Hello, everybody, and welcome to Two Geeks and One Noob, where we gather friends of similar interests and maybe not so similar and discuss, joke, learn more about, and generally have fun with geek culture. Today, we are talking about Kaiju monster movies.
Yep.
This is always a fun one for me. This is a topic that I enjoy very much. I love monster movies like Godzilla, Pacific Rim, Kong.
Yeah, Broderick's great. Matthew Broderick is amazing. Totally being facetious.
I love monster movies, so I am very excited about this one. Let's dive.
Let's get in.
This.
Yeah. So, what are your favorite ones so far? Or like not so far, but what is your favorite monster movie?
It depends on the topic to some extent. Like, I love shark movies, and so The Meg is always a fun one, but I'm not going to put The Meg as my top favorite monster movie. Like, that's probably got to go to Godzilla as an overall favorite, but it just depends because there's, like, I guess the subcategories. So it's water-based, like The Meg. Just the big megalodon swimming around is great, but if we're talking, like, fight 'em, bash 'em, Pacific Rim.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go.
That is definitely one of my favorites as well. I think that one has one of the best fleshed out storylines to me because like I love the Godzilla movies and the Kong movies and stuff, but at the same time it's like there's certain elements of it that the storyline just kind of drops off for me. Yeah, but it's still fun to watch them.
Well,
just
and
like
with those, especially with the last three Warner Brothers based Godzilla movies, they've had that trouble finding the balance of, okay, how much do we focus on the monsters? How much do we focus on the people? Where do we have that story back and forth? And so the first one, it definitely focused more on the people. And it's like you didn't really get to see Godzilla until a good ways into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Which, like, I was happy when I got to see him, but at the same time, I was like, why do we keep going back and forth? You killed Bryan Cranston so early. And that was like, I thought he was going to be the main character based on the trailer, which nothing against the rest of the cast, but like, bold move killing off Bryan Cranston.
I know. That was very interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, but all of the Godzilla movies I enjoy for different reasons. Mm-hmm. Just seeing the build up and the storytelling, and like King of the Monsters is fun because it's just like Ghidorah is just such a good design. And it's just I love dragons as it is, and then a 3-headed dragon shooting lightning. Oh, that's terrifying! I love it.
So, what about you, David? What's your favorite monster movie?
I really enjoyed Pacific Rim. So
we're all in agreement.
I think we're all in agreement on that one, but bear in mind that was also one of the first forays into at least a kaiju film coming from a Western style and Western director.
Yeah.
So that's a good one. Cloverfield was close.
Didn't we? They had the older Godzilla from like the late 90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, with Broderick.
But yeah.
Yeah, Matthew Broderick and
it makes us look more American.
Honestly, though,
great line though.
I really liked the design for Godzilla in that one.
Yes,
I liked that one better
the
than
design, but
original.
It didn't feel like Godzilla.
I can see where you're coming from on that, but personally, Chubby Godzilla's really weird to me.
Well, all of them have been that way, though. Even when you look at the old Godzilla movies with the suits, it's like they're all chubby Godzilla. And that's what makes me laugh about the complaints about the 3 most recent Godzillas. Like, he's fat. And it's like, he's always been fat.
Yeah. I will say that the newer ones, they did it better. But personally, I do like a little bit more slimlined, spiky, like cool.
That makes me think
You don't like
less
Godzilla
Kaiju.
with dad bod. Got it.
The dad bod Godzilla. But like the
Brozilla.
older Godzilla.
I'm sorry, Caleb. Go ahead.
Chadzilla. That older Godzilla made me think less kaiju and more like dinosaur.
Yeah.
And so that was more my issue with it. And like, again, I like the design, but I just don't get that Godzilla feel from it.
Yeah.
Whereas with the more modern stuff, it's like, okay, that looks like Godzilla to me.
Yeah.
That's what I picture in my mind based on older stuff. So.
I can definitely agree with that. And again, like I can see where you're coming from. Personally, I'm more like I you said dragons. I love dragons, and when they're nice and like slimline designs and stuff like that, just that's over the top for me. It's like awesome. But I understand what you're saying. It's like it's not really
some reason,
Godzilla.
I've never associated Godzilla specifically with dragon.
Well, no, not specifically that they're
aside from
affiliated.
atomic breath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's more like giant radioactive lizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is totally fine.
Have real different reaction to the ooze than Ninja Turtles.
Bebop and Rocksteady,
Here's the bit.
or the no, we won't get into that. But
Yeah, that's a very different topic.
So you've told us you've asked us what our favorite monster movies are, and you said yours is going to be Pacific Rim as well.
more than likely, yeah. Just because, like David said, it kind of gave us a little bit different of a style. Plus, like the fights between people and them, like it makes it a little bit more more even. Like instead of just pummeling them with missiles from jets, it's like okay, they actually can fight these things.
Well, and that's how like they started with the first Pacific Rim, having tanks and jets flying by and shooting them, and they said it took them days to take down the first kaiju that showed up.
Right.
Yeah.
And so like actually having this like larger than life machine, it's like it's the closest to a Gundam movie we've gotten.
Right.
But even then, to bring up Pacific Rim as our favorite, it's kind of a disservice to the actual genre. Because Pacific Rim is really kind of that crossover genre between the two.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's why I said that like when it comes to fight bash 'em up type movies, that's where I put it. But for me personally, Godzilla would take the cake.
That's fair.
Just because I love Godzilla and all of the other monsters that you see throughout
That's fair.
the series. So
In which case, I would have to back down to my second choice there and say Cloverfield.
Yeah, and again with me, backing into the other genre of it is, I think I'd probably have to say Kong, because I'm a big monkey fan. So like,
we talking
or
like
ape, I should
Kong
say.
Skull Island or the older King Kong back when we were all in high school.
The Peter Jackson one or
the Jack
like-
Black one.
Yeah. To his credit, he did a great job.
Yeah, no, he did a phenomenal job in that one. But I think probably Skull Island was one of the better ones, because it showed a lot of that island life of it, where like all the bigger bugs and stuff like that, which freaked me the heck out. Like especially that one that like
The centipede that wraps up Andy Serkis.
yes,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, that one was stinking scary. Or like the one that went into the log with the girl, or was that the same one? I think that was the same one.
I think it was the same one. It's been a while since
Oh
I've seen that.
no, I'm sorry. That the one that was in the log was the one that was like crawling on the top of it. It was like a big like it had a lot of legs, but not as many as a centipede.
I don't remember.
But
It might have just been a pill bug.
something like that, yeah. But yeah, like Kong, especially because it gives it a better feel for a monster movie, because it's not necessarily a monster movie. It's more like it just wants to be left alone. And when it's not, it actually has a reason for doing the rampage, because it's trying to either get away or save the girl.
Yep.
So like it gives a little bit more of a connection.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, in Skull Island, like he just kind of roamed around and did his own thing, unless people messed with him. Just basically on patrol, constantly looking for the skull crawlers.
right.
And I liked that aspect, because it was just like, okay, we're here, like we're interfering, but we're like, we want to keep our distance and see what's going on. And then the skull crawlers start to show up, and it's like, oh, this is a bigger problem than we realized.
Yeah. I think I might have been actually mixing the two movies together, the old one and the new one. So, but still, it's still that same concept of like, he's not just some big dumb ape. He's got a reason for what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's trying to protect the world,
Yeah.
or his island at least.
Yeah. It was like, I think it was listed as like one of the guardians
Yeah.
on Skull Island.
Yep.
And which is why he and his like tribe would fight the skull crawlers back before he was the only one of his tribes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to bring in what they did with the last one, where it was blatantly Godzilla versus King Kong, where they bring in this idea of Hollow Earth and emphasize that point all the more. I think it's kind of harkening back to older storylines that we've seen before, like Journey to the Center of the Earth, and kind of bring that forward a little bit more. But it's also setting up to have that crossover between King Kong and the rest of the Toho enemies, or Kaiju. So Mothra, Ghidra, whatever. It'd be really awesome to see those cross over into the storyline now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I feel like we are going to see a lot more, because they've already talked that, like, Godzilla and King Kong are going to be their, like, starting point to branch off their monster CU. So, like...
The other MCU.
Yeah. So I'm interested to see what they do with that. I think it's going to be interesting because they also wanted a lot of the smaller monsters, such as Dracula and whatnot, to be part of that cinematic universe. And like right now, that isn't feasible with the current setup. But with
that's
what
a whole
they've
different
done,
rabbit trail that I'm gonna avoid.
Yeah. Well, like even with just what they've started with, bringing like the whole Hollow Earth idea and like kind of expanding that, which they've touched on both with Kong as well as in the Godzilla movies, and be able to just kind of play around with that. And so it's like, not only is it the Hollow Earth, but then it's also got like using the Hollow Earth for like the tidal waves. So it's like Godzilla has his like passage through the water. And so like they've built it up pretty well. And I'm excited to see where they take that universe.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
I would love to see some sort of tie-in with Cloverfield, because that was like such a like interesting concept of this monster just showing up. And if they could find a way to tie those two together in some way, like it's not realistic, but it would be really cool to see them try to like somehow combine those.
Are they in the same universe?
I don't believe so.
No.
Oh, okay.
It was set
So it'd
up
be
to
more
be
of a crossover.
It was set up to be a separate universe, and it became its own franchise.
Yeah.
Because then we got Super 8, we got what was it? 99 Cloverfield Lane, whatever. Cloverfield Lane, I think.
Yeah.
I think it was. I can't remember.
I actually saw Super 8. I didn't see the other two, but Super 8 was
really good.
pretty decent, yeah.
It's another monster one that I personally love, and I get that it's not great, but I love it, was Rampage.
Yes.
I had so much
As a
fun
movie
with
or
that
as a
movie.
game?
I enjoyed the movie. I don't actually have a lot of exposure to the games. I know that they were there, and I've seen them, and I've never actually got to sit down and play them, but I've seen friends play them.
Okay.
So I do have some exposure, but very surface level to the games.
Yeah. I didn't even know it was a game when the movie came out, so...
Yeah, it's a much older game. I think late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah.
Midway Games, whenever they were still a thing.
Right. Yeah, I definitely like that one a lot too, though, because it kind of gives it that human connection, and the fact that it can do the signing and stuff like that. It's just, it was hilarious.
Just the pranks that he pulled with the
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, okay, that may be me in gorilla form. Like that's,
Yeah, pretty much.
Yep, I see it. Could definitely see that. Yeah, but even as a film, yeah, it was a fun movie. It didn't take itself too seriously, which I appreciated about it, because they knew, okay, this is a hard sell for a lot of audiences.
yeah.
But it had that right amount of camp with, like, okay, we can do so much more with this genre, and push forward on that. Like, okay, this is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like the fact that they did it that way, where like you can have a monster movie that is super serious, and it kind of can flop because it takes itself too seriously.
Like Monster Trucks.
Hey, I like monster trucks. All right, the movie Monster Trucks. That did not take itself too seriously.
Okay.
It was
We've
just
got
a
an
fun
argument
movie.
between the movie optimist and the movie critic. Here we go.
All right,
Round one.
All right,
Fight.
let's
Two
go down
very-
this road then, David.
This is two opposing change my mind segments.
Yeah. Why do you think it takes itself too seriously?
Honestly, I don't have a dog in that fight. I didn't finish watching it. I could not bring myself to finish watching that movie. So, yes, I will retract the comment. Yes, I'm speaking out of turn just to be a troll.
All right, fine. It was a fun movie. I thought it didn't take itself too seriously, honestly.
Okay.
I think it made fun of itself in a lot of ways.
Okay.
But kind of back to Rampage, where it doesn't like it has that comedy in it, and
It had its comedy moments, but the timing was what was key with that. Because you can just have a joke or something that you just throw out, but the timing could be way off, and it's like, oh, that's not funny, but okay, you tried.
Yeah.
Whereas Rampage, like, I think the timing and with a lot of that comedy was really well done.
Yeah, because it was towards the beginning where like nothing serious was happening, and then it had its serious moments of like there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and then towards the end when things are kind of calming down, it's like okay.
And it had some funny moments sprinkled in, but they were done well. Like with when they were jumping out of the plane, as the agent is waking up, he just like, I'm in the middle of the sky. Oh crap! You're welcome.
Yep. Yeah, such a good movie though. So what other kinds of movies are like? Honestly, I am the noob in this one. I don't watch a lot of monster movies. So what other movies are in the genre that you guys enjoy?
I'm gonna defer to Caleb because usually when I think of monster movies, I think more along the lines of horror or thriller movies, which are really their own genre.
Right, exactly.
So where it's pack mentality type beasts or specific folklore. So,
and it's interesting because while there's a lot of fun big monster movies, there's not. When you think monster, it's just such a broad category.
Yeah.
But another one that I personally enjoy is the Meg that I mentioned earlier. It's just, again, I love shark movies, and so just having a setting with this gigantic megalodon swimming around, just causing all this rampage. It's like, okay, how do we actually do something to this thing? This is so big, and we don't really have a whole lot that we can work with here.
Yeah, and that is again like why I like Pacific Rim is because there's a lot of those movies where like like you said, there's just not a whole lot you can do against it except for nuclear warheads, and it's like, no, let's not do that because we're gonna kill everything else.
Yeah. Well, it was just the idea. It's just like, okay, we're trying to keep up with the Meg, and we think that we trapped it, and it's like, oh, surprise, second shark, because there's always a second shark.
There's always a bigger fish.
Thank you, Qui-Gon.
Exactly. It's just them hunting it down, thinking, okay, we've won, like, we've lost a few friends, but we're here. And then the bigger shark shows up and eats the other one and takes multiple people out, and it's like, oh crap, we were so wrong.
Yep. And some of those crazy underwater scenes in the underwater hub there were so crazy.
And their base.
Yeah, the base. Yeah. Where like it comes and cracks the window and stuff like that. It's just like, whoa, that thing is huge.
and I just gotta say, for an introductory scene to the creature, that was brilliant.
Oh yeah.
You show off scale, you show off, look how far we've come, and then you also show off, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, you set the stage perfectly for, oh, we are so hosed.
Yeah.
And just the whole build up to that moment. It's like getting to Mana 1 and going down to the lower levels and seeing the like big ring. It's like, oh, there's whales swimming out right outside the window here, and being able to see all of these cool things, then going into the control center and like going through the dive, and then everything just goes to crap in that moment.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I will kind of throw in another movie that kind of skirts the edge of monster movies, but it's also one I really enjoyed. But it's Reign of Fire. So it's more of a dragon movie than it is a monster movie necessarily. But like, what do you guys think of that as kind of bringing that into the monster side of things? Because again, we've both said that we love dragons.
Yeah.
So it's like,
I think if we're gonna bring in dragon movies, we have to bring in Draco with
Dragonheart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But as far as Reign of Fire goes, it was a very enjoyable flick.
Yeah. So
Watching it later,
yeah, I think the only thing I would say about Dragonheart is it wasn't necessarily on the monster side because it was a very smart and like it you could work with it.
Yeah.
Whereas these dragons were like, no, there's no working with these dragons. They are here to destroy.
Yeah, I would say that's actually a very good delineation between the two.
Yeah.
I guess that would help kind of classify it more closer to that of a monster movie because it's like, in just overall dragon stuff, like look at The Hobbit, for example. He had a full-on conversation with Smaug before everything happened, and it's like, okay, there, like, and depending on like the lore and whatnot that you're looking at, there is that room of like, okay, these are intelligent creatures that you can converse with. Whereas if there's no room for conversing, nothing happening there, it's just they show up just to destroy things.
Yeah.
Like that is more monster-esque.
Yeah, because especially in that movie, like there was a lot of movies where, like, just say like Chronicles of Narnia, where there was a dragon that was like the before Eustace became a dragon, there was a dragon who all it wanted was to hoard their treasure, just like Smaug did.
Yeah, it was more based in mythology, based in what would this be like if it were real.
Yeah, the mythology side of it rather than the real world. Like, no, dragons are just big beasts that can kill. They're animals.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that line is definitely made there.
I'm curious what you guys think about that differentiation on the monsters, where it's like we've got Godzilla that's just this ancient creature that has been around for who knows how long, just stalking the earth and kind of like doing its thing, taking out certain monsters when it needs to, hibernating. And then we look at like the Pacific Rim monsters that were all like clones and they were built.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious what you guys think about like that differentiation between the two.
I think it kind of goes back into the previous topic, so good segue. Where it's part of lore and a particular culture. Because if you look at monster movies as they've come out from different sides of cinema and different sides and different cultures, we see it predominantly with more Eastern culture, Eastern cinema. Starting with Toho, did a fantastic job bringing that in and making it part of a larger part of the pop culture there.
Mm-hmm.
It comes over this way, and okay, it's found a niche foothold, and people enjoy it. But then we didn't really start getting to that point until the concept of what is kaiju, what is this destructive thing that's going to absolutely slaughter us all. Until we brought that into terms that on more the Western culture, Western cinema can start to relate to. Western audiences are seeing, wait, oh, they could be created. That makes more sense for us. Whereas on the Eastern side, it's more of, oh no, it's been here long before we were.
Right. Yeah. Like we're trying to we're trying to explain away where they came from, whereas they're like, no, yeah,
it's always been here.
They're the gods of the earth.
Yeah, that was kind of how it went with like the King of the Monsters. It was like Godzilla has been here since the beginning of time. Ghidorah came to Earth and tried to usurp Godzilla, and it was this battle of kings. It was like, no, this is my home. So that's what I liked about those most recent Godzilla movies, is like they still touch on that like lore aspect of things, but making it more of like a unique twist to Western audiences while still keeping some of that lore.
And actually, while we're on the topic of Godzilla and Ghidorah. Ghidorah. Thank you. Sorry. Wow. Wrong series. Entirely. Do you remember there was a Wii game years ago, obviously. Destroy All Monsters. Do y'all remember that? Where it's basically this arena-style fighter where you play one of the monsters from the Toho universe.
Oh, man. I didn't...
You don't remember this at all?
I didn't have a Wii.
Oh,
I didn't play Wii. Yeah.
I had friends.
Wow, you did?
Shots fired. Shots fired. You heard it here first.
I'm sorry,
folks.
guys. I'm in a rare form today. No, it was this hilarious concept, really, where it's basically bringing in all the original storylines and saying, "Hey, plot," and just allowing all these different monsters to mash up against each other. And basically, it was the Toho version of Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Nice. I loved it. Anyway,
yeah.
Sorry, rabbit trail done.
But I think the monster fight was part of what I liked so much about the King of the Monsters was just that, like, how different they were. It's like
Yeah.
when Godzilla pulled Ghidorah into the ocean, it was like, oh, this could be like a genuine, like, you're dead moment.
Yep.
And then humans interfered, and it's like, oh, wow, you just ruined everything and seriously hurt Godzilla. And Ghidorah's like, that's cute.
Yeah.
I'm still here. Thank you for that. And it had Rodan, a.k.a. Fire Chicken, that shows up and is like, you survived that pretty well. I'm going to fight with you.
It was the first one that had Mothra in it, right? Was it Mothra? Or?
Yeah, that one. That was the one that they had Mothra in it. The first one was just Godzilla, and the other Kaiju. I'm forgetting their names off the top of my head, but they were looking for the nuclear power, and that was how they fed and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was trying to remember that because when you mentioned Ghidorah, I was thinking that was Mothra, but it was back in. So Ghidorah is the three-headed dragon.
Three-headed
type.
lightning dragon. Rodan was the big fire bird.
Sorry, I think I might have gotten you doing it. Ghidorah or Ghidra?
Ghidorah.
Ghidorah. Okay, my bad. Because I'm thinking Hydra and okay, never mind. Moving on.
Yeah.
Yeah, not Ghidra. Hydra or yeah.
Ghidorah.
Ghidorah.
Okay. All right. My bad. If anyone from Toho is listening, I am so sorry.
I doubt it.
Never know.
Maybe someday.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
But
But this may be a good segue into the first round of the game.
yes.
Dang
So
it, Caleb, I just lost the game.
dang it. I lost the game.
How old are you?
You're welcome, Blake.
Of a certain age.
Of a certain age. So the game that we're going to do here, folks, is we're going to randomly draw two monsters from a cup, and it's going to be a who would win it type moment.
All right. So the first one,
First two.
the first fight
There we go.
is going to be Ghidorah
Nice.
or Ghidra or whatever you want to call it.
Ghidorah.
Ghidorah
I gotta get it straight.
versus the bugs from Starship Troopers.
My money is definitely on Ghidorah. Like,
Yo.
he's literally a flying storm. Like, sorry to the bugs, but there's nothing they can do.
Yeah.
Even if they swarm, no.
Yeah.
I mean, they might be able to do a little bit of damage, but
You mean they're doing their part?
Well, like Godzilla did damage when it bit off one head, and then it just grew back.
right. Yeah. All right. So I guess that kind of answers that one pretty quickly.
that was a pretty easy
Yeah.
one to answer. Yeah, Ghidorah's is kind of in a class of its own.
Yeah. Okay. So second round, I'll just keep picking because it's not.
Yeah.
We're not taking turns really. So
So we're just super card fighting this, right?
super what?
Super card fighting this?
Super
much.
fight. Yeah.
Or super
Yeah.
fight, there we go.
Yeah. All right. So make your argument. Godzilla versus the dragons from Reign of Fire.
Ooh, that actually would be really interesting because the dragons have a lot more mobility.
I guess the question is would it be just one of the dragons or would it be multiple dragons?
You read plural, so I'm gonna say it's multiple.
Yeah,
Because there was a lot.
Yeah.
there were
and
several dragons, so I don't imagine that they would all just sit off to the side and watch one dragon fight Godzilla.
Yeah, and if memory serves, they kind of fought with they fought with a pack tactic.
At the end, they were actually fighting themselves because they were running out of
yeah.
food. So they were like, yeah, no, they were top, like whoever was top
Well,
dog
that could be
wins.
something that comes into play in the fight too. If
Yeah,
Godzilla
yeah.
like tail whips two of them together, and then they're just like bickering, like, "No, you hit me! No, you hit me!"
Yeah.
That is an interesting fight because they do have a lot more mobility than Godzilla, but Godzilla's blast has a lot more range than a normal dragon breathing
Right.
fire.
It does, but also bear in mind, Godzilla has to learn how to fight multiple enemies at a time for every encounter of multiple enemies.
Yeah, but he lives in lava in a radioactive area. Like the fire from them isn't going to do a whole lot to
True.
him. And especially if he's like swimming in the ocean and able to just lunge out and grab onto them, pull them into the ocean, it's like they may learn and keep their distance, but it's still the idea that's like their fire is not going to do a whole lot to him.
But didn't they find out that if like this might have been in the old Godzilla movie, but when they like shot him through the mouth, like didn't that actually do the damage on the
Godzilla
inside?
did his blast through the mouth of the monster in the first one.
Oh, okay. So, all right. Because I was thinking, like, if the
he's
dragons
surviving
could, like,
nuclear blasts from a bomb that's like 2 feet away from him, like
yeah.
fire-breathing dragons aren't going to do a lot to him.
Much.
Their teeth and claws are
I was
still
gonna
going
say,
to do a
they
lot,
could-
and there are a lot of them that he would have to deal with, but he does have the weight to throw around.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So I think pound for pound, Godzilla.
I would have to lean towards Godzilla. I don't think it would be an easy fight,
Yeah.
and he would definitely not be leaving unscathed, but yeah, I think I would have to go with Godzilla.
He'd definitely take some damage on that one, but yeah, I think you're right. I think Godzilla would probably...
If it was like the intelligent dragons like Smaug, that would be a bit of a game changer because they
Plus-
would be able to put together a plan.
Yeah.
Yep.
Plus, he's a little... Smaug was a little bigger than the
Yeah.
dragons from Reign of Fire. All right, so round 3. I think this will be our last one for this round, for this
Episode.
segment. We have got... Man, we're getting all the big ones. King Kong
Okay.
versus Graboids from Tremors.
Ooh.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I know nothing about Graboids, so I'm kind of out of this fight.
Yeah.
I mean, graboids aren't huge.
Compared to us, they are.
Well, compared to us, yes, but compared to Kong,
And it also depends on which evolution we're talking about. If
true.
we're talking about stage 1 evolution, then yeah, they're bigger.
Yeah, I do think Kong would have a slight advantage just because of the skull crawlers digging through the earth, so he's got at least some minor experience
Yeah.
with that. Like, very different fighting tactic and beast that he's fighting, so it would be challenging.
But the
and there's
speed-
also the intelligence
Yeah.
from Kong. Because, I mean, we saw in Godzilla versus Kong, he used a weapon. So,
Yeah. So I
like,
mean, he
could
can
easily
use
learn.
tools and improvise tools.
Right.
This one's honestly, this is tough for me. I would say the Graboids have the speed on Kong.
Definitely, yeah.
But
And being able to attack from any direction, they definitely have an advantage, but
also depends on the terrain.
yeah, true. I think my money is personally on Kong based on his intelligence and his movement because he could easily climb to get out of their range. And like, sure, they may knock down a building, but that's not going to stop him from jumping to a different building.
Yeah. Right.
From what I saw on the cover of the movie, the Graboids were basically like T-Rex looking things, right? Or at least the
death
head
worms.
was.
They're death worms with a lot of teeth.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Because the only thing I was thinking of was, and this was kind of something I was going to mention earlier, was one of my favorite parts of the old Kong, and I think it might have been in the new one as well, but was when he fought the T-Rex and won. So like that kind of gives a point for me for Kong, from me for Kong, not for me. So yeah, I would probably go with Kong overall just because he has won against similar creatures.
Yeah, and that's where I'm leaning as well.
I would agree.
Okay.
It would be a tougher fight, and it would probably be prolonged for him
Yes.
because he's not used to the speed of the Graboids, but tactics of, it would eventually go to Kong.
Okay. So that wraps up the game portion of this this episode, or at least this segment of it. So getting back into the conversation. So one of the other movies I was thinking of, which is it's not exactly a giant movie, like a giant monster or kaiju really. But it's a movie called The Great Wall with Matt Damon. But they were in China, and they were the whole reason that the Chinese had built this wall was to keep the Tao Te out, which was they were smaller, like maybe a little bigger than horse size aliens, but they were a hive mind, and their queen was like a little bigger and like more armored and stuff like that. And so that one was another one of my favorite monster movies, was because it had some really cool stuff that the animals could do, and then also the people fighting against them were they were really, really well done fight scenes.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Because they had like these blades that would come out of the Great Wall as they were climbing up the wall and just like rip them to shreds. And that was pretty cool.
Squeezing arm to death.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think the hive mind aspect for Kaiju definitely brings another take on it. It kind of goes back to, like, in that last segment, we had the bugs from Starship Troopers
Right,
as well.
yeah.
Also a hive mind.
Yep.
And the hive mind was also the idea of the Pacific Rim, which is why
you're right. Yeah,
at the
I forgot
end
about
of
that.
it, they're
Yeah.
like, okay, we've got 3 here. They've learned our plan because it's a hive mind, and the drift goes both ways. You dummy! You gave them our plan.
Yep. Oh, when he
Charlie Day is
Oh
being
my
chewed up by Ron Perlman.
yeah when he connected to the hive mind, and yeah, that was lovely, but and then it really backfired in the second movie.
I mean, it backfired to an extent in the first one because they sent 2 big ones there, and it's like, okay, go find him now.
Yeah.
While also preparing 3 more while those 2 were out hunting. So.
Yeah. But again, the hive mind concept, are you really going after the individual monsters, or are you going after the entire hive? Kind of gives that question at that point. So I think in that regard, it kind of makes the concept of a hive mind the individual monster.
Yeah. Well, I think the hive mind is what's interesting because, like, looking back at Pacific Rim, we've got this idea of, like, okay, we have all of these Jaeger pilots that are undefeated in X number of assaults, but then they're getting beaten when a new one shows up easily. And it's just like, okay, well, the hive mind, they've clearly learned all of your tactics and they know what to do. And they sent one that's specifically built to counter you at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, so the hive mind thing too, just a crazy thought on it is that they, like, certain movies, it's you kill the queen, you stop, you take them all out. But I feel like in other ones they don't do that, where it's like, no, you took out the queen, but they're still coming.
Yeah. I seem to recall that was kind of the concept in Pacific Rim as well. Because it wasn't so much a queen, so much as this other alien race that has control.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
whenever you brought that up, it sparked
precursors
memory.
or something. I can't remember what they were called, but I'm going to go with precursors for the time being until I can remember it. But like the precursors were just like creating them and basically sending the kaiju there to kill humans and get the planet ready for the precursors to get there.
Yeah.
And they even talked about it as like they tried it before coming when the dinosaurs were around, but the atmosphere was unstable and dangerous for them. Now we've basically terraformed it for them and they're ready to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy. That's what we're doing, guys. Getting the world ready for a new race.
And it's not us. No. But I love the creativity that goes into these different storylines. Because it's I think we've kind of hit on this before, where the topic of many different genres is kind of to look at ourselves as some aspect that we don't want to talk about and try to take a creative spin. Be it on a, no, you're going to face this spin, or it's a, but have you considered, and just give this out of left field recommendation on what could happen because of what's going on.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And that's what I liked about like that twist with like Mechagodzilla in the third Godzilla movie is like, oh, you used part of Ghidorah's brain? Are you stupid? What was your plan there? Did you not have a failsafe when that was going to go wrong? It was never a matter of if.
Yep.
Another movie I just happened to think of that's along those same lines is Live, Die, Repeat. Or Tomorrow... Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, that one. Okay.
It's very similar where they had the hive mind, but it was the major one there could go back in time and learn
Time warp. Yeah.
learn how to defeat because they could relive the moment.
Yep. Yeah, that was another interesting concept where you're kind of cutting yourself.
Concept.
That one also had kind of the field promotion concept for the hive mind, didn't it?
The what now?
The kind of field promotion for the hive mind, where if the queen's taken out, another one immediately fills the spot.
Yep. Yeah, they had so they had like it was more like generals. Like they had a general and then they would kill that one off and then another general would come and then they had an alpha that was the it was the hive mind of it.
Okay, so there was more of a hierarchy than a regency.
Kinda, yeah.
Okay. For lack of a better term.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Caleb, your thoughts?
He didn't see it because it was Tom Cruise.
Oh, good point.
Yeah. He beat me to it. It's like, if it's Tom Cruise and it's not Last Samurai, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, I think you and I have a slightly different take on that. If it's not Tom Cruise and I'm not paying, I will see it. Or if it is Tom Cruise and I'm not paying, so I will probably see it.
Yeah.
We'll close this episode out with one more round, or a couple more rounds of our who would win it fight.
Alrighty, so we've got the Death Angels from A Quiet Place, or Ralph from Rampage.
Death Angels.
Yeah, I think I'd have to go Death Angels. Like, Ralph would make it really tough because, I mean, especially with like some of the abilities he has. But it's I think it's just the sheer number. Well, gliding.
Sorry,
but I do think it's
Semantics.
the sheer number of the Death Angels, and then being able to just pick up on any sound. Like, he's not going to be able to sneak around.
That's true.
Yeah.
Unless he was gliding.
Yeah, I think as far as...
Yeah, but even then, as soon as he lands, even if he takes out a few of them as he lands, all of the others are going to be like, oh, something big, let's go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that is
Because I think
true.
they're probably matched about even for speed.
I feel like Ralph would have them on speed just because of his size and how much of a stride he would have. Since he's like so big, he would be able to make much bigger strides, and so he like physically may not be faster per se, but the longer strides I think would give him a little bit of an edge. But yeah, it's just the sheer number of the Death Angels. So I think I'm gonna have to go Death Angels.
Yep.
I think for me, I go back and forth because I do have a soft spot for wolves. I love wolves. They're just such cool animals.
I do
really
too.
are.
And like Ralph would definitely take a lot with him, especially like adding in like the porcupine quills that he can throw around and gliding. Like,
Heck yeah.
he is going to make them remember him
Oh,
one
yeah.
way or the other.
And I think because of also his size, he'd be able to just like crush a bunch of them all at once. Like he could just put a paw down and like 10 of them would be gone. Maybe not 10, but like 4 or 5.
It would definitely be a really good back and forth. But ultimately, I just think the sheer numbers.
Yeah.
Because we don't even know how many Death Angels are actually there.
That's true. So we're going with majority here. You guys won that one. So you give
Quiet
it to
Place.
Death
Yep.
Angels. Alrighty. So next round is...
Gotta throw that ASMR in there, don't you?
Just a little. Okay. So this is Trespasser from Pacific Rim.
Yes.
Which
That's the axe head.
okay. Yeah.
Or the Meg.
Oh, jeez.
I think this one's going to be hard for us just because we do kind of see Trespasser as fighting a sea-based battle at one point, don't we?
Was he? Was he in the?
I know it was
in the water.
It wasn't past the shoreline.
Yeah.
Or not port. Sorry,
we didn't
not past
see
the
Trespasser do very much in the water.
This one's going to be a hard one to guess.
But all of the kaiju do have good swimming ability.
So he could ram at the Meg, but
Ramming at the Meg with the axe, like that would be, or the axe head on his head. That would make it really interesting. But I do think that the Meg would probably have a little bit of an advantage in the water. Like it doesn't have as many options fighting wise.
which
I think that majorly hinders him, though.
It does have arms, and so I think that like it'd be able to block a lot more and using the axe on its head.
would be able to block more and push away, but depending on how the Meg goes after him, I think
Yeah.
the limited options for the Meg actually becomes its advantage at that point.
Yeah, and it's like it's gonna have a lot more speed in the water than
Yeah, because then Meg's gonna be able to the Meg will be able to actually tear away at bits anytime it gets a hold.
Yeah.
But the kaiju blood was considered to be poisonous to living beings, and so the Meg would do a number on it. But ultimately, I don't think that the Meg would survive the fight, even if it did win.
I think
So
that's
I think that
I think it's a lose-lose in that case.
Yeah, I think I would just barely give the edge to Trespasser, but I don't think either of them are walking away alive. Honestly.
Well, the Meg's not walking anyway.
Get what I'm saying? Friggin' punk.
Worth it.
See, I agree that I would probably give the advantage to Trespasser, just because, again, it has a bit more stride. It has the axe. It has more availability to attack in different ways than just.
And we've seen multiple
Nom nom.
kaiju in nom nom. We've seen multiple kaiju in Pacific Rim lose, even if it was just like smaller parts of their body, losing parts of their body and bouncing back and continue fighting.
Yeah,
because they're basically just trained monsters there to fight, and that's all they do.
Yeah, and they don't back away from a fight either.
Like say the Meg is able to bite off one of Trespasser's arms, it's going to be ingesting toxic blood from the kaiju, and the kaiju is going to be like, "Oh, you took an arm, mistake there. I'm fighting even harder now." So,
I still think it's going to be, in that case, it would still end up being. Oh no, because the kaiju actually they seal off the wound, don't they?
no, they still have the open wound because we never saw. The only time that we saw them sealing a wound was in the second one when they had those small micro robots that were assembling the three kaiju together. So if we add the micro robots, then the kaiju's got it easy. But if it's just pure kaiju versus Meg,
because that's from first movie, so it wasn't.
I will say that I don't think Trespasser's surviving the fight, but I think Trespasser would technically be the winner.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would concede on that one. So. Technically, yes, Trespasser, but ultimately lose-lose.
Yeah. Fun fight to watch, though.
Oh, man. Yeah. That'd be super sick. All right, so let's do one more, and then we'll do the other part of this.
There's one I'm really hoping you draw here.
I don't think it's going to be it. Nope. I'm gonna redraw that one because nobody really knows it except for me. So, all right. So,
that laugh.
So it's gonna be Clover from Cloverfield.
Ooh, okay.
And George from Rampage.
Clover, easy. Sorry, George. I love you.
George is good, but I mean, even at an infant stage, Clover has the weight advantage.
Well, Clover is close to that of a normal kaiju size. George is a large gorilla that's grown far beyond its normal capabilities, but I don't necessarily know that he would be kaiju per se.
Yeah. Yeah, he's, like you said, just a large ape. He doesn't have any extra abilities or anything.
And if George wouldn't even be able to win in a fair fight with Kong just based on size.
Yeah.
It's they both have intelligence, clearly, but George would still want to be coming up to Kong's ankles.
Which I think that might be the only thing in George's favor is he's intelligent, whereas Clover is more instinctual. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just the sheer size advantage. I think George would give it a good old college try, but...
I will actually counter that there is this off chance that George having the intelligence advantage would try to run and try to exhaust Clover. But Clover, I think even endurance-wise, Clover might still have a slight edge.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's a pretty good call-out.
Yeah.
So I think it is possible for George to do it. Whether George would survive long enough to actually do it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's just like the Clover's proven to be fairly resilient because they tried using military things to halt Clover and nothing happened.
Yep.
Whereas George is going to have some level of bullet resistance, but he's not taking a tank hit, let alone a big punch from Clover.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry, I have to mention one more movie because my wife will kill me if I don't at least mention it. Love and Monsters.
Okay, fair.
Really, really good movie.
Very fun movie.
Gotta love it. Some really cool monsters and stuff in it.
Yes.
And we could throw out Clash of Titans as well because that had some really cool creatures that we got to see.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of really good options, but I think these were the ones that we were a little bit more excited about.
Yeah, as fun as the others are, I think these were probably the more easy to group together.
Yeah. All right. So to wrap up this episode, we're actually going to pose a couple of versus questions to you at home. So we have a couple here that are the winners of our versus game. We want to see what you guys think would win between these three questions.
There is a bit of a bias. I was the one that put this little bracket together because these are the fights I personally want to see.
So we have number 1, Death Angels versus King Kong. Number 2, Ghidorah versus Trespasser. And number 3, Godzilla versus Clover. So let us know in the comments what you guys think, and we'll call it out in later episodes.
And also give us a little bit of a dream matchup for Kaiju. Let
Oh,
us
yeah,
know
absolutely.
if there's a face-off between any two monsters that you'd be really excited for.
Yeah, and we'll try to answer that later on.
And remember, everyone, if you see a monster coming your way, don't be a dummy and take your phone out. Just get out of there.